Hey guys, just want to Portrait here. Just want to really briefly talk about one of the very common questions that I have gotten over the years, and even recently, just mails and comments and so on, which is like, I draw a lot of portraits, obviously, and they ask, well, can you draw landscapes, dogs, animals, other things, and so on? And the answer is yes. And the question shows I don't shows a slight misunderstanding of the nature of drawing, right? So it's almost like you're asking if this person you're seeing a person that's running and you're asking this person, "Oh, can you walk?" Because to draw a portrait, there's two things. There's position and there's value. There's proportions. You can call it proportions, but really it's about getting things in the right positions, whether it's shapes and lines and right that creates the proportions. End of the day is proportion is the position of each line or dots or whatever or shading or whatever. And then there's value. If you're doing the color, then it's precise color or precise value. Very much the same thing. So when you're drawing a portrait, error tolerance of these two things has to be extremely precise. So there's not much error tolerance at all. So if I were to draw a person, especially someone that's really difficult to draw, that I think like their face doesn't have anything that has a very outstanding feature, such as Emma Watson and I don't know, I have not never drawn her, but like Kristen Stewart, which a lot of people are mistaken when I draw Emma Watson. They think I'm drawing, oh, it looks like Kristen Stewart, because the features are so close together. It's literally, I would say, like 16ths of an inch of difference. For those of you who doesn't live in United States, that's probably like millimeters of difference would make the difference between one person and the other. So if you are able to control that kind of precision with regarding to proportion and value, you can draw pretty much anything else. Because the error tolerance suddenly becomes that much larger that you for example, for this drawing that I'm doing right now, that it's relatively it's kind of made it up, right? It's a demon, so it's more like a character design. But once I get the proportion in terms of eyes and nose and mouth not too wrong, roughly where they're supposed to be, I can do no wrong. I can make the nose a little bit larger, a little bit smaller. I can make the mouth wider. I can make the mouth bigger, smaller. I can even show some teeth if I wanted to. I can make the eyes closer together or further away, larger. It's still gonna look like a demon because there's 1,000 ways for that to look not correct to a particular thing, and for it to still look like the thing that I'm still supposed to draw, which is a demon. But if I was to make that look like a specific person, I have to be exactly very precise to make that thing to look like a specific person. The same holds true for if I have to draw like a scenery. If I have to draw like a if I have to draw a scenery of the New York City landscape, I just have to make it fairly precise, but not nearly as precise as a portrait. I can make an error of even half a centimeter, or 1/8 of an inch, or even more in some cases. I just have to get the main elements and main signatures buildings in the right place, and it's gonna look like Statue of Liberty. It's gonna look like Central Park. It's gonna look like this particular building right here. It's gonna look like the new World Trade Center, and people are gonna be looking at that, be like, oh, that's New York City. As long as height and perspective is roughly right, it's gonna look like what it's supposed to look like. And let's say I'm doing an oil painting and I'm drawing a beautiful day and with a clear blue skies and green grass or something like that. The value and the color of the sky and the clouds and everything doesn't have to be that precise. I can make it. It just have to fall within a boundary. As long as the sky is not too off, it can be a little bit darker, a little bit lighter. It's still gonna look fine. It's gonna look normal. If the grass can fall within like a little bit lighter green here and there, it's gonna look fine. It's gonna look realistic. There's a lot more tolerance that I can get away with and have the picture still look perfectly fine. This is why, and Same thing with the proportions, right? And same thing with your still life. Exact same thing. If you draw a shoe or if you draw a plate of fruits or whatever, you can make a lot of, relatively speaking, more errors and more mistakes in proportions and everything. As long as they're not too off, your drawing's gonna look very good. Drawing a particular person, suddenly that tiny little bit of mistake is the difference between you doing a good job or you just way off base. So yes, I do this mostly about portrait, but I can do other drawings, and I have done a lot of other drawings for commissions over the years. So a lot of them are pets and other stuff. I just don't think would like that kind of stuff, even though I could draw those. But if you guys do like to see those kind of drawings, I can do some of those drawings. And honestly, they are much more easier for me to draw and a lot more relaxing for me to draw. Cause there have been many times, that I would do a drawing that's a portrait where it's not my first take, right? To be honest, like I've been doing this for probably like over a decade now. In the beginning, like there are drawings where it takes me like up to like 3 takes, because the first two, it's just not that correct. It's okay, but it's just not that correct. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like not every drawing I just first take is just perfect. And as time goes on, I'm getting more and more better with it. But if I was to do still life and landscape, I can pretty much guarantee 95% of times my first take will be perfectly fine. So yes, portrait is more difficult, and if you practice portrait, you are actually practicing something that is much more difficult, and this is actually allow you to draw anything else in a much more easier way. It's like practicing lifting with weights on, and then you take the weights off, then it's like everything else is easy. Alright, this is the drawing that you see on the screen right now. It's kind of just me messing around and doing kind of a character design, kind of like a demon. You know, you play around with different things, and there you can't do no wrong. You just have to play around with things like that. If I have more time, I can of course play with details and shadows and make it even more realistic, but that's not the point. And you know, let me know what you guys want to see, if you guys want more information on how things are done. But when you do enough portraits, you build up a lot of information. You start to see things imagine things in 3D a lot easier, which actually make you able to design three-dimensional things much easier. Even though AI is around the corner, that's going to be able to do things like this very easily too. Okay, any questions, just leave them in the comments, and talk to you later. Cheers guys.